The 50-30-20 rule is the most famous budgeting rule in America. Financial advisors recommend it. Personal finance books teach it. And for a lot of people, it's completely wrong. Not because the math is bad. The math is simple, but because it was designed for a world that no longer exists. And if you're trying to build wealth in 2026, blindly following this rule could actually keep you poor. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what the 50-30-20 rule is, why it works for some people and fails for others, and what I believe is a better framework for where you actually are right now. Let's start with the basics. The 50-30-20 rule was popularized by Senator Elizabeth Warren in her 2005 book, All Your Worth. The idea is simple. Take your after-tax income, the money that actually hits your bank account, and divide it three ways. 50% goes to needs. These are non-negotiables: rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, transportation, insurance, minimum debt payments. 30% goes to wants: dining out, entertainment, travel, subscriptions, new clothes, the things that make life enjoyable but that you could technically live without. 20% goes to savings and debt payoff above minimums. This is your retirement contributions, your emergency fund, your extra credit card payments, your investments. On paper, it's elegant. 20% to wealth building, enough structure to prevent chaos, enough flexibility to live your life. So why doesn't it work for everyone? Problem 1. Housing costs have destroyed the 50% bucket. The 50-30-20 rule assumes that all your needs, housing, food, transportation, insurance, everything, fit into 50% of your take-home pay. In 2005, when Warren wrote the book, the median home price in America was about $220,000. Today, it's over $400,000. If you're renting in any major American city, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, Austin, Seattle, your rent alone may already consume 40 to 50% of your take-home pay, before food, before a car payment, before insurance. For a single person earning $60,000 a year, take-home pay after taxes is roughly $45,000, or about $3,750 per month. The median one-bedroom apartment in Austin, Texas, costs nearly $1,500 a month. That's 40% of take-home, just for rent. Add a car payment, car insurance, health insurance, and groceries, and you've already burned through 70 to 80% of your income on pure needs. The 50% bucket overflows before you even get to wants. Problem 2. The 20% savings rate is not enough if you started late. If you started investing at 22 years old and invested 20% of your income for 40 years, you'd likely retire comfortably. That's who the 50-30-20 rule was designed for. But if you're 35, 40, or 45 years old and just starting to get serious about money, 20% is not going to cut it. The math of compound interest is unforgiving. Starting late means you need to save more aggressively to catch up. If you're 40 years old with less than $50,000 saved, financial planners often suggest you need to save 30 to 40% of your income just to retire on schedule. 20% won't get you there. Problem 3. It treats all debt the same. The 50-30-20 rule puts minimum debt payments in the needs category, which is correct. But it doesn't tell you what to do with high-interest debt. If you have credit card debt at 22% interest, and you're putting 30% of your income toward wants while making minimum payments on your cards, you're actively losing money every month. So what actually works? I recommend a modified framework that I call the 40-20-40 rule for people who are in debt or behind on savings. Here's how it works. 40% goes to needs. This is non-negotiable: housing, food, transportation, utilities, insurance, minimum payments. If your needs are already over 40%, the fix isn't to ignore the rule, it's to aggressively find ways to reduce housing or transportation costs, because those are the two variables that actually move the needle. 20% goes to a wants minimum. You need to enjoy your life. People who completely eliminate wants usually burn out and abandon the plan entirely. 20% for wants is the floor, not the target. 40% goes to savings and debt destruction. This is the aggressive version. Half of this 40%, 20% of your total income, goes to debt payoff above minimums, targeting high-interest balances first. The other half, the remaining 20%, goes to savings and investments. Yes, this is hard. Yes, 40% to financial goals feels extreme. But here's the reality. If you have credit card debt or you're behind on retirement savings, you are already in an emergency situation. The normal rules don't apply. The standard 50-30-20 rule is a maintenance budget for someone already on track. The 40-20-40 rule is a recovery budget for someone who needs to catch up. There's one more version I want to share for people who are in a true financial emergency: significant debt, no savings, living paycheck to paycheck. I call it the 60-10-30. 60% to needs. And if your needs are genuinely higher, you focus immediately on reducing housing or transportation costs. 10% to wants, the bare minimum to not feel completely deprived, a streaming service, an occasional meal out, something small that makes life livable. 30% to aggressive debt payoff, every extra dollar going to the highest interest balance until it's gone, then rolling that payment to the next one. This is a temporary mode, not a lifestyle. You run this budget for 12 to 24 months until your debt is eliminated or dramatically reduced, then shift to the more sustainable 40-20-40 model. Here's the truth about budgeting rules that nobody tells you. Any budget is better than no budget. The 50-30-20 rule, for all its flaws, forces you to think about where your money goes. Most Americans don't do that at all. The best budgeting system is the one you will actually track. Whether that's a spreadsheet, an app, or writing numbers in a notebook, consistency beats sophistication every time. Start somewhere. Adjust as you learn. What matters is not which percentage rule you follow, it's that you're intentional about every dollar that comes in and goes out. Subscribe for weekly videos on building real wealth in the real economy. No fluff. Just numbers, strategy, and the honest truth about what actually works. I'll see you in the next one.